So very good morning. Welcome to Veneza 10 on NTA News 24. We're live on the network service of NTA. From Abuja, I am Musbal and Wahab.
And I'm Rodan Onam. Thank you for joining us. Now the headlines.
To immediately send the relief materials to the fire incident victims of both communities.
Senate moves to end pipeline explosion, urges NNPC to assess contamination costs in Rivers and Lagos states. "17 out of 24 candidates contesting Kogi governorship election signed peace accord."
It's not possible anymore for a known criminal to get into our country or get out of our country.
Real-time sharing of air travelers' biodata. Minister inaugurates data analysis system at Abuja Airport.
Now, the Senate has urged the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, and its concerned subsidiaries to carry out assessment of the contamination caused by pipeline explosion of July this year in Komkom, Rivers, and Ijegun in Lagos State.
National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Ukwo reports that the resolution is equal to the recommendations by the Senate's ad hoc committee that investigated the two incidents.
To pass the appropriation bill 2020 on the 28th of November by the grace of God.
The report of the Senate Ad hoc Committee of the two pipeline explosions in Rivers and Lagos states was given prominence as Senate suspended its rules to consider it first. Chairman of the committee, Senator Ibrahim Gobir, presented the report, which also recommended that NNPC account for 382.2 million naira earmarked for pipeline protection and called for sanctions against organizations, agencies, or persons found culpable.
NEMA to immediately send the relief materials to the fire incident victims of both communities.
There are instances where some of these criminal gangs come along with firefighting equipment.
They know what to do. Indeed, at that time, we recommended that they should automate their pipeline surveillance. The NNPC needs to explain to our committee, the downstream, the measures they have had in place over the years, whether there is need to review this and even the agreements.
Senator Bima Inagi drew the attention of the Senate to the urgent need for the federal government to make funds available for the completion of the Baro River Port project and for continuous dredging and maintenance of the Niger and Benue rivers,
as well as improving our road network by keeping heavy-duty trailers and trucks off our roads and thereby extending the lifespan of the roads.
The employment that Baro Port will generate, not only for the inhabitants around there, but Nigerians from all nooks and corners of this country.
The necessity to revamp Nigeria's textile industry once again resonated on the floor of the Senate. Senator Kabiri Barkia brought in the motion, which also sought restriction on the importation of foreign textile materials, while the borders continue to remain closed. The legislators passed 12 bills through first reading. These include the National Commission for the Prohibition of Hate Speeches Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Sabi Abdullahi, and the Federal University of Agriculture and Technology Funtua Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Bello Mandia. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Ukwo, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has urged the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development to provide geological records of gold deposits in Nigeria, being a major revenue earner. House members, while debating a motion from Ogene Ego on the need to prioritize gold missing in the country, noted that there is an estimated 2.40 tons of gold deposits in Nigeria. The report.
The motion elicited comments from House members who noted that prioritizing gold mining in the country will fetch Nigeria the much-needed revenue, as there is an estimated 21.40 tons of gold deposits in Nigeria.
There is a need for us to amend the constitution to bring mining to the concurrent legislative list so that states will have jurisdiction. It will also assist in increasing the revenue generation of this country in such a way that we will not even need to borrow to part-fund the 10 trillion budget as proposed for 2020.
Nigeria, observed the lawmakers, loses more than $9 billion annually to illegal mining and suggested policy review to facilitate investments in the sector. The House, in response to a motion from Representative Markwe Levenus, urged the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to consider the use of concrete technology in road construction.
Like granite, sand, cement, and water. And therefore, the adoption of this method of construction will have multiplier effects in job creation in the road materials sector.
Other matters adopted as plenary include a call to investigate some federal government social investment programs due to alleged corrupt practices as moved by Taiwo Lukemi, appeal for assistance to victims of flood disaster in parts of Borno as moved by Zainab Gimba, and the call from Satome Ahmed for the relocation of Giwa Barracks in Maiduguri to a more suitable location. Meanwhile, the motion requesting the suspension of the directive from Nigeria Customs Service, which stopped the supply of fuel to areas located 20 kilometers to the border, got the support of House members when the Deputy Speaker, Ahmed Idris Wasi, put it to question.
Those in favor with the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
From the National Assembly, Lami
Ali with that report. Now away from the National Assembly, the federal government is working hard to ensure that the nation's inland waterways are all year-round navigable. Managing Director of the National Inland Waterways Authority, Dr. George Mogalo, stated this when he visited Onitsha River Port to assess the state of the facilities. Uchenna Nwekoyo has the report.
The Managing Director of the National Inland Waterways Authority, Dr. Mogalo, said the facility of the nation's inland waterways is to ascertain the challenges that have prevented them from being put into maximal use. He said that the Onitsha River Port, as well as other river ports across the country, if put into full utilization, have the potentials of boosting the nation's economy and reducing the pressure on the highways.
Government is determined to make sure that critical infrastructures like this are put into use, because if you check the quantum of resources that has been invested in this port since its commissioning in 2030, you can imagine the waste.
Stakeholders in the area want the new Managing Director of the Waterways to work hard towards revitalizing the river ports to make them easier for import and export of goods in the inland cities.
We need water transportation to be very, very effective to reduce the too much pressure on the highways.
By the time he leaves Niwa, I'm sure he's going to make it better than he met it in the first place.
The Managing Director had earlier on arrival paid a courtesy visit to the Obi of Onitsha, where he gave him the assurance that he will leave the river ports better than he made them. In Onitsha, Uchenna Nwekoyo, NTA News.
Now talking politics, 17 out of the 24 candidates contesting the Kogi governorship election have also signed a peace accord and have agreed to accept the outcome of the election.
The candidates and other representatives promised to abide by the agreement during the INEC's stakeholders meeting in Lokoja, Kogi State capital. Charles Alpha reports.
Incumbent Governor Yahaya Bello of the All Progressives Congress APC and candidate of the People's Democratic Party PDP Musa Wada were the notable candidates among the 17 that signed the peace accord in Lokoja. The candidates and representatives of 7 other political parties were not present. The Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, while speaking on level of preparations, disclosed that the Commission is leaving no stone unturned and has since deployed both sensitive and non-sensitive materials to the state and are in good condition going into the election. With the court recently ruling on the lawsuit filed in by the Social Democratic Party governorship candidate Natasha Akpoti and other pending judgment in Kogi, INEC is confident any last-minute judgment by the court will not affect the elections.
The sensitive materials for both the governorship and Kogi West senatorial run elections are ready. As usual, they have been handled by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
On security, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Abubakar Adamu, has assured that the police is equally ready in terms of personnel and logistics, while also providing equal protection for the electorates, polling units, INEC materials, and ad hoc staff. While warning against inducement and illegal possession of firearms, the IG says police officers attached to any dignitary will be withdrawn on election day. Stakeholders were advised to be tolerant and law-abiding before, during, and after the election. In Lokoja, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
All right, 17 out of 24 candidates have just signed a code. Now the question will be, how are they going to abide by this after the elections? Because we've seen such signing of a code in the past, and afterwards, what next?
And that's a question still begging for answers as to how effective, or if this peace accord that they actually signed, is effective. Because just as you said, after the elections or even during the elections, to abide by the rules, to conduct themselves, their party members to, be law-abiding, and also to see that, okay, whatever happens after the elections, they agree by it. But then we don't get to see that.
Another doubt on the effectiveness, like you just mentioned, only 17 out of 24. What about the 7 remaining?
Governorship candidate in Bayelsa State, David Leon, says if he's elected as the next governor, he'll reposition the state for better productivity by its citizens. The APC campaign train landed in Yenagoa for the grand rally preparatory to Saturday's governorship election in the state. One after the other, different political groups turned out to show their support for David Leon and the APC. The national chairman of the APC, Adam Soshomole, the party's commendable performance at the national level stands it in a good stead to lead Bayelsa State.
With David Leon, one of their own, one of us, it is farewell to poverty.
Confident of victory, the APC standard-bearer David Leon wants his supporters to conduct themselves peacefully on election day.
Let me assure Bayelsans, November 16, being elected and sworn in 14 February 2020, Bayelsa will see light. David
88,000 eligible voters are expected to turn out for the November 16, 2019 election.
And now on post-election matters, the Court of Appeal sitting in Ibadan, your state has refused to the order for the retrial of a petition filed by APC candidates in 2019 governorship election, Adebayo Adelabu, challenging the victory of Governor Seyi Makinde for your state due to time limits. Kaude Oladosu has that report.
The appeal court in its judgment set aside the tribunal judgment which dismissed the petition filed by the APC candidate Adebayo Adelabu and his party to challenge the victory of Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State. The court maintained that the tribunal ought to have dealt with the issues raised in the petition rather than dismissing it. However, the Court of Appeal declined to give consequential order for the retrial of the petition at the tribunal due to time limit as 180 days allocated for the trial of the election petition by the Electoral Act 2010 as amended has lapsed.
It shows that the judgment of the tribunal occasioned miscarriage of justice against the appellant.
No implication on the return and declaration of Seyi Makinde as governor of Oyo State.
The court itself said that it is a Pyrrhic victory to APC. And what does that mean? It is academic, hypothetical, it is even pseudo. So when something is pseudo and it's not completed, you go to where it will be completed, and that is the final court in the land, our Supreme Court.
3 out of the 4 justices of the panel present in the court allowed the appeal, but without consequential order, while the remaining one who gave the certain judgment outrightly dismissed the appeal. In Ibadan, Kaidola Doshu, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority.
All right, we have more news ahead. Stay right here with us.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms.
Start Times, Channel 101, Freak TV, Channel 703, DSTV, Channel 419, and GoTV, Channel 46.
For more information, log on to our website, www.nta.ng, or join us on our social media handles, Twitter at NTA News 24, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions, and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24,
news and more news.
You're welcome back, and just in case you just joined us, you're watching News at 10 on the network service of the NTA. Now to stories on road infrastructure. The Trans-Sahara roads in Nigeria are doing well now that the commendation is coming from the Secretary General of the Trans-Sahara Roads Liaison Committee, Ayadi Mohammed. As the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, led the committee to inspect some ongoing projects. Joseph Johnson tells us a story of how roads are taking over sandy routes in Africa.
Stories about how Africans traveled by horses, donkeys and camels through the Trans-Sahara trade route many years ago may be history today. But the decision by African heads of states to transform those routes into highways of vehicles and trucks led to construction of 9 road projects across Africa. What that means is that movements of people and goods through the Trans-Sahara routes is now made easy and faster. The task of completing the route is the reason why members of the Trans-Sahara Road Liaison Committee are in Abuja for the 70th session.
It is more than desirable that we can conceive together a vision, concerted, harmonious, and integrated economic development to maximize our potential.
After the talks in the hall, it was time to see physically. Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola led the committee to the ongoing rehabilitation of Abuja-Kaduna-Zaria-Kano dual carriageway, a 375.9-kilometer road project that is considered as one of the critical components to the Trans-Saharan Highway.
The project is a 3-year project, but because of the efficient methods that the construction company is using, recycling the existing material, reducing the number of movement of some materials, we may gain some time.
The expansion of 5.4 kilometer of Abuja-Kefi Expressway and dualization of Kefi-Akwanga-Lafia-Makurdi Road were other roads the 5-member countries visited, as they also build sections from their countries. The committee hopes to achieve a more vibrant African economy, improved cooperation and trade, with good road networks.
Joseph Johnson with that report. Now, the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport now has the Migration Information Data Analysis in security agencies.
Victor Azu reports that the Abuja airport is only the first of 5 airports to benefit from the project.
Air travel is common for movement between countries, hence the quest to improve security at Nigeria's airports. The minister's quick steps are an indication of his eagerness to welcome the Migration Information Data Analysis System, MIDAS they call it. It is a system that enables sharing of air travelers' biodata between security agencies. Already deployed to good effect in 14 land borders and 2 seaports in Nigeria, the Danish government seeks to replicate same success at Nigeria's airports.
Systems like MIDAS are essential everywhere in the world in order to be able to
to control the data of the passengers that you bring on board international flights. So when we realized that this was a need, we stepped in.
The Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport is the first of 5 airports in which the system will be installed, and the Minister of Interior, Ralph Aregbesola, understands its implications for internal security.
Just as it is in other advanced nations, it's not possible anymore for a known criminal to get into our country or get out of our country without us identifying such a person and bringing him to check.
This is a revolution, but it's not only for immigration, it is for all law enforcement. And this system will be linked with all the wanted persons globally, with the Interpol and local suspect index.
With Midas now at the airports, Nigeria becomes even more unattractive for criminal elements who may want to hide away in the country. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
All right, that's a step up in the security drive. Now let's join Kunle Adeyeye for the business news.
Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed says the National Assembly has shown commitment following the speed at which the bill was considered. The bill, which has passed second reading, was submitted by President Muhammadu Buhari on October 14, 2019. While speaking on the draft finance bill at a function in Abuja, the minister disclosed that the annual budget will always be accompanied by finance bills to enable the realization of revenue projections. The bill is also expected to amend some tax provisions and make them more responsive to tax policies of the federal government. And the Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index inched up by 0.54% to begin the week on a positive note, as it closed at 26,456.39 basis points as against 0.48% appreciation recorded previously. Its year-to-date returns currently stands at minus 15.83%. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
The Plateau State Governor, Simon Bakola Long, has concluded his visit to Kenya with a meeting with the Kenyan Deputy President, William Ruto, in Nairobi. Aisha Bali reports.
Governor Lalong, who was hosted to a dinner by the Deputy President at his official residence, told his host that he was in Kenya on behalf of Nigerian Northern Governors Forum on the invitation of the Kenyan Council of Governors, who are desirous of creating a peer-reviewed relationship. He said Nigeria and Kenya share a very cordial relationship at the highest level, as demonstrated by President Muhammadu Buhari and Uhuru Kenyatta, which could be further exploited with the relationship between governors of the two countries.
It's not because of the land. We are not looking at the land of the institution, the democratic institution, but we are looking at benchmarking. So many things we can take away. Correct. We can take away and also give. Correct. As we interact with each other. Correct. But we've already promised them that even with this visit, the next visit they will have to come to Nigeria. They should come to Nigeria. Let them come to Nigeria. Allow them to come to Nigeria. When they come to Nigeria, we will also share a lot. Correct. And probably still come back to Kenya. No, you should. Kenya will remain our first.
He also made a special appeal to the Deputy President Ruto to facilitate the acquisition of 2 rhinos from Kenya for the Jos Wildlife Park in Plateau State.
When I came, I was going around seeing the park and I saw rhinos, so many of the rhinos. I told him, I said, there's no way I can go without rhinos.
Deputy President Ruto appreciated the visit of Governor Lalong to Kenya, which he described as not only timely but a game changer in relations between the two countries. He described as unfortunate the low volume on trade and person-to-person exchanges between Africans, which he said was undermining development and growth.
Choosing to come to Kenya first
is a recognition that you identify with us, you believe in us, you think there is something we can do together, and we don't take it for granted.
The Plateau State Governor later met with the chairman of the Kenyan Council of Governors, Wycliffe Ambassador Oparanga, to review the visit, where both expressed delight over the new engagement and also resolved to work out modalities for a return visit by the Kenyan governors in order to consolidate the relationship.
Aisha Obali there. Now, Nigeria's hope of attaining polio-free certification status is largely dependent on how soon people embrace the national campaign against open defecation.
And that is part of the observation raised at the Inter-Ministerial Dialogue on Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene in Abuja. The report.
They have a cross-cutting national assignment at hand, walking the talk of their principal.
To declare
President Buhari had acknowledged that the water, sanitation, emergency in the sector. So, reality brought closer home as the Water Resources Minister was joined by his colleagues from Women Affairs as well as Works and Housing to appraise the situation. They clearly understand the relations between water and sanitation, but more pressing is how to stop the about 47 million people said to be practicing open defecation in Nigeria by 2025.
The most important thing is for us to understand that this open defecation is a terrible practice, it's a disgrace, and is even a dangerous practice for many people. I know people that have gone into the bush and gotten snake bites.
Yes. Sorry.
Where? And we know women have been assaulted, young girls assaulted by going into the bush.
With other 9 federal ministries expected to pull their weight behind the Clean Nigeria, Use the Toilet campaign, attention is also expected to ensure availability of toilets at public places like schools, markets, motor parks, and worship centers.
We all must put our heads together to intensify advocacy, to create more awareness on the dangers of open defecation.
If we must win on a long-term basis the battle for eradicating polio from Nigeria, where we are, as I understand it, almost out of the woods, this must be the support system that keeps it forever polio-free.
From the report of the Inter-Ministerial Technical Committee, the Ministry of Works and Housing is being encouraged to consider sanitation facilities in the construction of upcoming toll gates and other major highways without toll gates. In Abuja, Musbal and Wahab, NT News.
You're watching the news at 10 on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a break now, and when we return,
more stories ahead.